Hey everyone, Ryan here. Welcome to episode 3 of A Practical Legend. So, for this video, we are going to be looking at the different battle conditions in Legends. And man, it's a difficult video to make. So what I think is best is for me to do some sort of like a reflections video and basically talk about when I struggled with each of these battle conditions and how I went about dealing with them. So maybe you might be finding yourself in a similar position, struggling with a specific battle condition, and hopefully you might find something useful here. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, I guess, if in isolation, each battle condition is not necessarily terrible. There are a couple. However, when we start stacking them with each other, we have so many different battle conditions in Legends. I think that's what makes it a bit challenging in thinking of just a general strategy to deal with everything. So for the most part, the nice thing about this game is that quite a few of these battle conditions we don't really have to do very much, or we can't really do very much, in the sense that it has very little impact on how the battle condition plays out. So, for example, if we look at like Death Ray resistance, Thorns resistance, Plasma Cannon resistance, Orb resistance, more bosses, enemy shield, energy shields, Death Defy, ELS reductions, there's really not much that we can do aside from just playing the game normally, right? Like, we get the ELS battle condition lap done, that's probably going to help. Death Defy, if we get lucky with Death Defy procs, we go a bit further and so on. So I'm going to skip away from all of this. And aside from the obvious stuff like get more damage, I think that probably is going to help everyone, but I don't want to place so much of an emphasis on damage. Sure, having more damage is going to get you a lot more waves, but we are all constrained by stones, by our enhancements, by our module levels, and so on. So I'm going to try to keep the focus more towards the strategy aspect of dealing with these battle conditions. Okay, so let's get started with the first one, which is having enemy attack speed battle condition. So I think when I look at this battle condition, the main difficulty for me back then was in rays. So ray enemies, oh my god, they are the definition of the 2-pump jump in this game when there's this enemy attack speed battle condition, right? So they spin half a second or 2 seconds and then they nut on your tower. It's crazy. I was struggling with this for quite a long time. And it was when I was dealing with tier 14 farming. So it's been quite some time since then, but you might find that at your stage of progression, you are naturally dying to ray enemies in your farming runs, assuming you're farming tier 14 to like wave 6-7,000. You might find that ray enemies are going to get you very quickly. So naturally, to progress further in your farming runs, you are going to be getting Nuke Plus and Slow Aura Plus for your card masteries. And I think in general, once I got these two card masteries, ranged and ray enemies, they stopped being a problem. Sure, in tournaments, towards the end of the tournament runs, when enemies have a lot of health, rays could potentially get me. However, I think where I'm at currently, it's mostly overcharge that is getting me. But if you're struggling with this battle condition, having Nuke Plus, Slow Aura Plus is really, really good. Now, knockback resistance. Knockback resistance used to be a very big problem for me. Whenever there was a knockback battle condition, I remember this was around the time where I was dealing with the before the tournament playtesting series. Knockback resistance was going to take off like at least 10% of my tournament run. So the way that I went about dealing with this battle condition is to get on my anti-cube portal the 1.5 knockback force over here. Now, for me, the main issue was because I guess I have very low attack speed. I don't have attack speed mastery. So with my low attack speed and the knockback force battle condition, the fast enemies, they're just going to come close to my tower even though I'm firing at them. They're not really going to get pushed back. Once I rolled in this battle condition, it actually helped to improve the consistency of my runs. I guess the main issue now is that if there is no knockback force battle condition, I do end up hitting enemies a bit too hard, so they start flying off my screen. As you can see over here, my knockback force is 8.28. So one thing that I'm doing to counter this is that if there's no knockback force battle condition, I tend to devil my knockback force in my tournament runs and just allow my tower to be juggle the enemies a bit closer to my tower range rather than let them fly out. So that's just one of the trade-offs to bear in mind. Aside from that, with knockback resistance, almost any sort of other control I think would help, right? Having more CF plus, having more stuns from Poison Swamp, landmine stuns, inner landmines, I think they all generally help. Having a larger shockwave size is probably also going to be quite useful. Just all to help juggle the enemies a bit better. Now, next thing is more enemies. So more enemies is actually an interesting battle condition for me. Back then, when I think before version 27, in version 26, whenever there was like the more enemies battle condition, what was going to get me towards the end of my tournament runs was the Ray enemies. And so specifically, if we have more enemies, then we have more elites, and because my damage is quite lacking, the Ray enemies, even with the slow aura and nuke mastery, they are still going to fire upon me. So that was the struggle that I had. Now, even before that, the more enemies battle condition affected me because I was taking a lot of chip damage from range enemies. So naturally a lot of stuff to counter the ranged enemies is going to help. One of the things may be permanent black hole, having better juggling abilities, like shockwave size, knockback force, and so on. And I think in the new version there is this ranged enemy range lab. I think this is a pretty decent lab to have. I've gotten mine to level 7. It's 3.5% range reduction for the ranged enemies, and I think it's already helping a little bit as compared to not having anything. Since the first few levels are relatively cheap, I think it's one of the decent ones to have a few levels into. So next battle condition, we look at the armored battle condition. Okay, so armored battle condition was a big problem for me. So for the longest time, I used to be running if you check out some of my earlier videos, I think I was at 3 quantity for Chain Lightning and 11% or 10 or 11% of Chain Lightning chance. It's gotten up a little bit since then, but at that point when I was at 3 quantity and 10% chance, I was taking quite a bit of chip damage in my tournaments. So ranged enemies were quite a big problem for me back then. There were 2 things that I did which helped me a little bit. The first was on my dimension core. I wrote in Chain Lightning quantity and Chain Lightning chance. That is just to help with getting more Chain Lightning procs to take off the armor stacks of the enemies. I don't think at 20%, so with 20% Chain Lightning chance that I have currently, I don't think this 15% Chain Lightning chance is a necessary substat. However, I do think this 4 Chain Lightning quantity really helps with just removing all the chip damage. In today's context, I think I don't really take any chips from armors. Well, I'm sure I would take some chip damage, but it's very minimal these days, and it's all from this substat over here. Once I wrote in this substat, I think life became a lot easier dealing with that battle condition. Right, so the next one is on ultimate weapon durations. Okay, so ultimate weapon durations is one of those that I think when you first enter into Legends and you start making 100, 200 waves into Legends, it's probably not going to be something that is going to end your run. You probably wouldn't notice the effect of this battle condition. However, as you progress towards 1,000 waves in Legends and maybe even more than 1,000 waves, ultimate weapon duration is going to be a pretty dangerous battle condition to deal with. So the main issue with the ultimate weapon durations battle condition is that your chrono field is going to drop, and if you lose out on your permanent chrono field, you're going to get shotgunned by the enemies. So it's pretty dangerous, at least for me. So 2 ways to handle it. One, you go the premium way, which is to get your duration to 70 seconds, so that with the 10 seconds reduction, you get to 1 minute duration with 1 minute cooldown. It's not too expensive to get it to 70 seconds, I believe. Right now I'm in a farming run, so it's 60 seconds. Yeah, my duration is 60 seconds typically. Getting it to 70 seconds is probably 2,000-ish stones. Yeah, not too expensive in the grand scheme of things, but I do want to put the stone somewhere else. So what have I done to ensure that this battle condition does not really affect me? It's to in my dimension core, I have this specific substat, which is the 10 seconds chrono field duration. Now, I think if you're rolling your dimension core, the really important substats to have would be chrono field duration or chrono field cooldown. You also want the chrono field speed reduction, and specifically this is to counter it counters almost every enemy type. Just having more time to deal damage to them is going to help you out drastically. So yeah, you want chrono field speed reduction, you want chrono field duration, and you probably also want chain lightning quantity. That helps to smoothen out the overall effect of your runs. Everything else, it can be secondary. It's not too important what the other substats are. Alright, so thereafter we look at Protector Ultimate. Okay, Protector Ultimate is my least favorite battle condition because right now it's creating the most variance in my tournament runs. So with Protector Ultimate, I think the best way to deal with Protector Ultimate is to have a fully developed Chain Lightning Plus, because Protectors, they spawn for 60% of wave health. Okay, so Protectors are, yeah, their health is 60% of the regular enemy's health. And Chain Lightning Plus deals 60% of the wave health damage to the enemy, or up to 60%. So that means that Chain Lightning Plus can completely get rid of the Protector Ultimate battle condition for you. However, I don't have much investment in Chain Lightning. I don't have the Chain Lightning Plus over here. So because of that, my tournament runs are actually suffering quite significantly whenever there is Protector Ultimate battle condition. One thing that I tried before was I used to run with permanent black hole whenever there was the Protector Ultimate battle condition. In the current stage of progression that I'm at, I think I'm getting to a certain wave count, and beyond that wave count, I generally fare better by having more damage. So now with the introduction of the S mods, you can run with a Galaxy compressor to help achieve permanent black hole. In my case, because my S mod is only at epic level, I have to run that as my main generator module in order for me to achieve permanent black hole. So that means that now I have to put project funding in my S mod, as my S mod. However, like 6 months ago when I was doing like the tournament playtesting videos, I did do a few comparisons between Galaxy Compressor and Project Funding. That was around the time where Project Funding was first released. And what I found was that it took quite a bit to get Project Funding to perform better than Galaxy Compressor when there was the Protector Ultimate battle condition. So I guess this is a sign that, with Protector Ultimates, the controls are actually more important than damage. Sure, having more damage is good, but having just permanent black hole is going to allow you to take a lot less chip damage and at least maximize your damage. Right, so now next up would be Tank Ultimate. So Tank Ultimate, you can actually see it in the farming runs. Every now and then the tanks behave like bosses, and they don't really do anything except stay around your tower. And what they end up doing is, if they start overwhelming you, they eventually break your wall. Now in Legends, the enemy attack is going to go up really quickly. The only thing that you can reasonably tank beyond like a 1,000, 2,000 waves is probably going to be the overcharge enemies. So the danger with Tank Ultimates for me currently is that they swarm around my tower. Eventually one of them breaks my wall, and then a overcharged enemy comes in, and once this overcharged enemy comes in, it's going to take out all my energy shields, and then eventually I just take one hit and I'm dead. So I would say that this is only just becoming a big problem for me. It's not something that really bothered me for the longest time. Before overcharge was an issue in Legends, so like in version 26 and so on, Tank Ultimate really was just, they were a bit annoying. They would just hover around your tower, but they don't really do anything. And eventually when the battle condition falls off, they just get sucked up by your black hole, and your ops just deal with them. So it didn't used to be much of an issue, but now it's a bit of an issue for my tournaments. Right, Basics Ultimate. Now, Basics Ultimate is actually pretty interesting. Back when I was a lot less progressed in my tower, Basics Ultimate used to spawn a lot of bosses, and bosses were the things that were killing me in a lot of my tournament runs. However, just getting to CF, so I would say with your CF Plus, I started seeing that bosses became less of a problem after CF 10. For a while I was running CF 7 and CF 8, and even then bosses were quite a big problem in my tournament runs. But between 8 and 10, I hardly ever die to bosses in tournaments these days. So actually right now, with Basics Ultimate, it's one of those battle conditions which I really like, because with more bosses being spawned, we now have the Amplifying Strikes module that is going to increase our damage. So we get more damage and more consistent damage, specifically whenever there's a battle condition for Basic Ultimate. So it's actually one of those battle conditions that I guess once you are able to deal with bosses, like getting your CF Plus up, it ends up being a buff to your overall progression instead of being something that is terrible. So then Range Ultimate. Now Range Ultimate is really annoying to deal with. I still haven't found a solution to it. I know what the solution is. The solution is probably to get attack speed mastery so I can just juggle the range enemies a bit better. However, you know, it's difficult to find stones to get this attack speed mastery. It's one of those pain points for me at this stage. But Range Ultimate is actually really dangerous. The moment one of the range enemies hit you, that is it. You're going to lose second win at the very least. So, you know, best ways to deal with it, I think, previously was to use Nuke Mastery and Slow Aura Mastery, just to slow down the rate at which the ranged enemy can fire off at my tower, and therefore give me a bit more time to juggle them. Thereafter, I would say that, you know, just having a lot of stuns from either Poison Swarm or Inner Landmine, even using Shockwave and Knockback Force to push the enemies out further, just to juggle them better. I think that helps a lot with Range Ultimate. But even then, even with all of that, I'm still taking chip damage from range with Range Ultimate. So I think the next step of progression for me, if I really wanted to counter this battle condition, is probably going to be attack speed mastery. And finally, the least favorite one of everyone, I guess, Fast Ultimate. Well, Fast Ultimate just sucks. Fast Ultimate sucked so much in the previous version because we had to lower the game speed. It's fixed now, but it still sucks. So why does Fast Ultimate, you know, I don't know if anyone has a very good counter to Fast Ultimate, but Fast Ultimate is really annoying to deal with. And it's annoying because it's, you know, suppose I put my ops at my op line over here. If there is a fast enemy near the boss when the boss spawns, the boss is just going to zoom past my ops. Now if I move my ops further in, then if there is no fast enemy when the boss spawns, my energy net is going to catch the boss where there are no ops. So that's just the most annoying thing to deal with. At the end of the day, because orbs deal percentage damage, we do rely a lot on orb damage for bosses later on in Legends, right? So you know, finding a good way to deal with fast ultimate is probably going to get you a very good performance in tournaments. As far as I know, there's no real way to deal with fast ultimates, because every enemy is just moving so much faster to you. I guess everything is going to be important, right? Having more nuke plus, low aura plus, they slow down the rate at which range enemies get inside your range and therefore can shoot you. Having more attack speed is going to juggle the enemies a little bit better. Having more CF plus, and CF plus is really important with fast ultimate, for obvious reasons, right? Having more stuns just to stun the enemies. Shockwave, knockback, you probably want to stagger the rate at which enemies come into your tower. And just having more range. And maybe permanent black hole to control all the enemy types that are not buffed by ultimate conditions. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has a good idea for fast ultimate. Do let me know. It's just the bane of everyone's existence. Well, anyway, I think that covers all the different types of battle conditions in Legends and how I went about dealing with them. I hope you found it useful, and yeah, if you like the content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.